All right, so you know how sometimes you just get this like weird feeling, like you just know something but you can't explain how, or you feel inexplicably connected to someone far away.
Yeah, like a sixth sense almost. We've all had those moments where logic seems to go out the window.
Exactly. And some people think the answer might lie in the strange world of quantum mechanics, specifically something called quantum entanglement.
Definitely a mind-bending concept. We're talking about the idea that two particles, no matter how far apart, can be linked so closely that they act like a single unit.
Okay, so imagine two coins, right? You flip them at the same time, and they always land on the same side, even if one coin is here and the other's on the moon.
It's like they're connected by some invisible force. And what's really wild is that some scientists believe this entanglement thing might be happening inside our own brains.
Oh, really? Inside our brains? But how? What part of our brain could possibly be entangled like that?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. There's this theory called ORCH-R, and it focuses on these tiny structures in our brain cells called microtubules.
Microtubules. I've never even heard of those.
Most people haven't. They're like tiny tubes, and for a long time, scientists thought they were just like scaffolding, giving our cells shape and structure. But ORCH-R suggests they might be capable of something way more complex.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What could these microtubules be doing that's so special?
The theory proposes that they might actually be the key to, get this, quantum computations happening inside our brains. Like our brains might be acting as quantum computers.
Hold on. Quantum computers. I thought those were still mostly theoretical, like something out of Star Trek.
They are still being developed, yeah. But the basic idea is that, unlike our regular computers, which use bits, either a 0 or a 1, quantum computers use qubits.
And what's so special about a qubit?
A qubit can be a 0, a 1, or both at the same time. This both at once state is what makes quantum computers so powerful. They can explore tons of possibilities simultaneously.
So you're saying our brains might be doing the same thing. That's insane. But if it's true, what does it even mean? Like, how would our brains being quantum computers affect us?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But one thing some researchers suggest is that these quantum processes and microtubules could be the source of things like intuition.
Like those gut feelings that seem to come out of nowhere.
Exactly. Or those moments of sudden insight where the answer just seems to pop into your head. Orgerar suggests that these could be glimpses into the quantum workings of our own minds.
So our brains are like tapping into a network of information beyond our conscious awareness, making connections we wouldn't normally be able to make.
That's the idea. And some researchers even believe that near-death experiences, those reports of seeing the light or feeling outside your body, might be explained by microtubules operating in a different quantum state as the brain approaches death.
Wow, that's a lot to process. So we've got these tiny structures potentially acting as quantum computers, influencing our consciousness, and maybe even playing a role in these unexplained phenomena that have fascinated humans for centuries. What's next? Where does this research go from here?
Well, one area where this gets really interesting, like really interesting, is when you start talking about minds being connected. Not through phones or anything, but through entanglement.
Whoa, hold on. Are we talking about actual telepathy here?
Yeah.
Because that's been science fiction for so long. But are we saying that this research might actually, give us a way to study it for real?
Yeah, it just might. One of the articles you sent, it talks about this idea, and it's a bit out there, I'll admit. It suggests that the Earth's magnetic field could be involved.
Okay, so, I know the Earth's magnetic field affects a lot of stuff, like compasses, even animal migration, right? But you're saying it could also be messing with our brains, entangling them somehow.
That's the gist of it, yeah. Instead of radio waves carrying information, what if these subtle changes in the magnetic field are actually influencing these entangled states? Imagine our brains picking up on a signal, but it's not one we've ever even, thought to look for before.
Okay, that sounds wild, but I'm with you so far. So, someone's actually researching this. You mentioned some studies happening in China.
Yeah, there's this researcher, Gao Shen, and his team. They're looking at EEG patterns, that's the electrical activity in our brains, to see if they can find correlations between people who are meditating or just focusing on each other from a distance.
So, their brainwaves would start mirroring each other, even if they're miles apart. Have they actually found anything?
I mean, it's really early, all right, but what they're seeing is definitely interesting, intriguing enough to keep looking,
Yeah.
And it's not just in labs either. Think about it. How many times have you felt inexplicably connected to someone far away? Or they're about to call right before the phone rings? Those stories don't prove anything scientifically, but they make you wonder, don't they?
For sure, it makes you question everything you think you know about how we're connected. Okay, but you also mentioned something about DNA being studied in relation to all this. Like, is quantum stuff happening even deeper than our brains at the cellular level?
That's what some researchers are suggesting. So there was this really cool study where they observed DNA strands, and get this, they were interacting with similar sequences without even touching.
Hold up, you're saying the DNA somehow knew where the other strands were, even though they were
Huh.
separated. Like, it was choosing to interact with them specifically.
That's what it looked like. It's like there's this whole other language happening at the molecular level that we just don't understand yet.
So our DNA is actually talking to each other. That's insane.
Now, let's not jump to conclusions, right? We need to be careful about over-interpreting the results. It's more like this study hints that there might be mechanisms within our cells, mechanisms that we don't fully understand, that might be influenced by, these quantum phenomena we've been discussing.
Okay, so maybe not full-on conversations, but definitely something more complex happening than we ever thought. It's like every time we get an answer, it just leads to even bigger questions.
That's the beauty of it, right? We're starting to peek behind the curtain, and what we're finding is a universe that's way stranger and way more interconnected than we ever imagined.
That's both incredibly exciting and a little terrifying at the same time. Like, if quantum processes are affecting everything, our thoughts, our DNA, even our connections with other people, what does that even mean for us? What does it mean to be human in a universe that works like that? It's almost like our brains are trying to get their heads around something that just seems impossible, you know? If we really think about it, the idea that these quantum things could be affecting how we think, our DNA, even how we connect with other people, it kind of blows your mind. Like, where does it even end?
That's the question, right? And if we accept that quantum mechanics really is this key player in life,
Hmm.
the possibilities are almost endless. What if we could use these quantum things to, I don't know, make ourselves smarter? Or really understand how consciousness works? Or even communicate in ways we can't even imagine right now?
It's exciting, sure, but it's also kind of a lot to take in. I mean, even if we just stick to what we've talked about today, just the thought that our brains might be tapping into something beyond what we thought was possible, that's huge.
Yeah, it really makes you think. And it's not just about biology or physics. It could change how we see everything: philosophy, psychology, even our spiritual beliefs. All those lines start to get blurry when you consider how connected everything seems to be because of quantum mechanics.
It's like we're learning a whole new language to understand reality, one that makes us rethink who we are, what the universe is, all of it.
Yeah.
We started talking about these tiny little things in our brains, and now we're questioning the fundamental nature of existence itself. That's kind of what we do here, huh?
It is, yeah. Every question we ask, it's like opening another door to even more questions. And it just makes you realize how much more there is to discover. And we've made some interesting connections today: quantum entanglement, consciousness, even our own DNA. But it's important to remember this is still new territory, scientifically speaking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got to keep our skeptical hats on, right?
Yeah.
Not every exciting idea turns out to be true. That's just science. But, even if some of these theories end up being wrong, just the journey of trying to figure it all out, that's what matters.
Exactly. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll look back and see that all these questions we're asking now were the first steps toward a whole new understanding of, well, everything.
And on that note, we'll leave you with all those possibilities to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride into the world of quantum weirdness. And until next time, keep asking those big questions, keep exploring, and never forget, sometimes the most incredible discoveries start with a simple, what if?